Hi everybody, how are you all doing? I hope that you're fine. Today we'll be having commas. Okay, so first off, you just need to log in using the aplosstudent.com. Alright, and then you click on your name. Just find your name here. Scroll down to where you have your name. And then we go to grade 6. Okay, so we click on commerce. We have 5 lessons under commerce, and let's see if we can hopefully get done with all the lessons today. So, first off, we will start with commas with series, dates, and places. Okay, so first off, we need to note that use comma separate three or more items in a series. So you use comma to separate three or more items in a series. Okay, sorry for this. Put a comma after each item in the list except for the last one. So when you have like a series and then with like different words, you have to put a comma in between them except for the last one. So in the last one, you do not need to add a comma. The last comma in the list right before the coordinating conjunction is called an Oxford comma or a serial comma. The serial comma is sometimes that optional, but most style guides demand it. Okay, so let's just go over this again. Use to separate three or more items in a series. Put a comma after each item in the list except for the last one. So you put a comma in each item except for the last, and then the last comma in the list right before the coordinating conjunction is called an Oxford comma or serial comma. So the serial comma is sometimes considered optional, but most style guides demand it. So just like this here, we have an example, and this example have like series here of items. So we have white and blue. So now, like it's been said, use comma to separate three or more. So now, the first one we're gonna put a comma, and then the second one also we'll put a comma, which is after white here. So this is the comma in the list right before the coordinating conjunction. So the coordinating conjunction is "and" here, and this is the comma. This comma here is the comma right before the coordinating conjunction. And that is word. It is called word the serial comma or Oxford comma. So we have red, white, and the colors of the American flag. So you cannot put a comma after the last item. No. But rather you put a comma this one before the last. So take note that you're not putting a comma after blue. You're putting a comma before the conjunction, which is "and." And blue here is the last one. So you do not add a comma to the last. Okay? Expressions that consist of pairs of words such as thunder and lightning and bread and butter are generally treated as single items. So now we have some um, pairs of words, and those words are just expressions, and you're gonna have they are the quotation here. Okay, so they are all treated as what, as a pair of word. So you do not need to put a comma in between. It's just like saying in, they're together, it's pair. Bread and butter, yeah, it's a pair. Okay, so you don't need to put a comma after bread or after thunder. Okay, so now we have college course typically include tuition, room and board, and textbooks. So now college course typically include tuition. That's one. Then room and board is just like the pair of words. They're together, just like thunder and lightning. So you don't need to put like a comma in between room and then you say board. No, they're all together. It's like a pair. So you put a comma after, and then this is the conjunction and here. Then this is the last one. So you do not put a comma after the last. No, you do not put a comma there. You put a comma here before the last word. Okay, this comma here is the one that is called the Oxford comma or the serial comma. Okay, so yeah. Now, so this is it for series. I hope that you understand. It's basically just do not put a comma after the last one. But when you have like three or more items, depending on how many you have, you could have four items. You put a comma. You could have 10. You put a comma each, unless the last one before the coordinating conjunction, you do not put a comma. Okay. So yeah, let's move on. Now we go on to the one for the dates. In date with a day and a year, a comma after the day. So when you have the dates with the day, the year, you use a comma after the day. Also use a comma after the year unless the date ends the sentence. So in date, a day and a year, so the day, which is like Monday, and then the year 2023, you put on them. Okay, so after the day, which is Monday, you put a comma. Okay, so the day Monday 20 25th, yeah, you put a comma after that, and then it's gonna be like 2023. Yes, then also a comma after the year unless the date ends the sentence. So if the date is ending the sentence, then no. But unless it ends the sentence, do not put a comma. But if it's not ending, just like here we have January 1. Yes, so January 1st, you put a comma after the day, then 2001. Yes, this one was the first day of February. So you're putting a comma after what? After the year because it's a sentence that is going on. So Muhammad Gadhi was born on October 2. After put the comma after the day. So the dates 20th, 25th, 30th, anyone. You put a comma after before the year. When the name of a city is used with the name of its state or country, use a comma. So now that is it for dates. We're done with dates. We're moving on to this one, the last one here, which is the places. But for the date, I hope that you get it. So you just make sure you take note that you always have to put a comma after the date. Okay, so when you're like September 25th, you put a comma before the year. And if you still have to go on with the sentence, you put a comma after the year, just like this here. And then if you're just gonna say, if the year is the last, you don't need to put a comma, just put a period, that's all. So moving on to the place. When the name of a city is used with the name of its state or country, take note. When the name of a city is used with the name of its state or country, use a comma after the city. Also use a comma after the state or country unless it's a sentence. Okay? So when the name of a city is used with the name of its state or country, use a comma after the city. Also use a comma after the state or country unless it ends the sentence. So if it's the last thing in the sentence, yeah, you do not use. But if it's not the last, then of course you're gonna use. All right. So just like when we have Chicago, all right, that's what, that's the city, right? And then you put the state after. It's known as the Windy City. We just booked our flight to Athens, Greece. Okay, so let's have some uh, examples. So for the places, we're gonna have Toronto, then Canada. So this is the city and this is the country, just like this. Okay, and then for the dates, the dates will have just like today, September 25th, then a comma, then end. Then we can also have September 2023, and a comma if you want to say more is dash dash, like that. So if you still have to say more of the day, you have to put a comma after the year and then you continue. Okay? Series. The series you could have what can we use for the series? We could have carrots, spinach, um okay. So now this is like a series, right? So you have carrots, spinach, watermelon. So yeah, you put a comma here. So this is the last comma, the last one, which is apple. And then we have the coordinating conjunction, which is and here, and apples. So this one is the serial commas. Yeah, we talked about this is the serial commas, and then this is the coordinating conjunction. So you do not put a comma after apples. No, you put a comma before apples, just after the watermelon, and that should be the last comma. Okay, so that's basically it for places, date, and series. Okay, so let's go check some examples. So it says correct the text by inserting two commas. So you just need to insert commas. Note in this skill or series, commas are not optional. Okay. On November 16, 2001, the first Harry Potter film, Harry Potter and the Secret Stone, opened in movie theaters around the United States. Okay? So now you need to insert two commas. So where are you gonna insert the commas? Which should have the right comma? So yeah, let's look at this now. So the sentence has a date with a day and a year. Note that it has what? The first of is it has what? October 16, 2001. And there was no comma between this. So you need to put a comma here first. That's what you start off. Use a comma after the day. Also use a comma after the year unless it ends the sentence. And you can see that 2001 doesn't end the sentence. So you need to add a comma here. Okay? So that's where you add your two commas. So let's see. So correct the sentence by inserting one comma. So you just need to insert one comma here. So we look at this. In one of the Hercules' most exciting overtime games, Burby Earl scored the winning game to lead the Boston Bruins to a Stanley Cup title on May 10, 1970. So where do you have a mistake here? You need to add a comma after what? The day. So this is where you add the comma because you need to always put a comma after the day. Okay? So yeah. Okay, let's move on to the and say. So now you need to correct the text by inserting two commas. Note that we've learned where you should insert commas for series, for dates, and also for the places. Okay? So now look at this one. Now, Elvis Presley was born in Tupelo, Mississippi in 1935, and it's still possible to take a tour of his birthplace. So now, between both of this, which one has a mistake? Where do we need to add the two commas? Because we need to add two commas, right? So yeah, do we add a comma for the places? What do we do? Remember that we're gonna add a comma after the city before the country. So now let's look at this. So which is gonna be the right answer here? They're gonna be this one or this one. So whatsoever answer you pick, whether it's correct or wrong, if you pick the answer, you're always gonna get like the explanation down telling you that okay, this is why you got it wrong. This is the correct answer. So the fact in the last one. Correct the text by inserting one comma. So you just need to add one comma here. In 2013, Nelson Mandela, freedom fighter and former South African president, died at the age of 9 at his home in Johannesburg, South America. So, what is gonna be the right answer here? Thanks, Joy. You can send in your answer if you wanna interact. Yeah, you can actually interact on the chat box. Send in your answer. Let's see. Okay. So, what do you think will be the right answer here for this one? One. Okay. Oh, yeah, perfect. And then correct the test by inserting two commas. So, you also need to insert two commas here. Okay, yeah, thanks, Evangeline. Thanks, guys. Yeah, you can actually send in your answer. Let's interact, okay? So, yeah, this one. The United States is not the old country with a red, white, and blue flag. Okay. Shinra High. The flags of over 30 other nations use the same colors. So what's gonna be the answer here in this one? What's possibly gonna be the answer in this one? Is it gonna be the first? Okay, we have the first one. Okay, the first one was correct. So moving on to the next. So we just need to insert one comma in this one, and we had this one during the tutorials. So it's gonna be after like the date here. All right, let's answer this last question together before we move on to the next lesson. So you need to insert only one comma here. So what's gonna be your answer in this one? If you're inserting one comma, yeah, two is correct there. Okay, for the next one, page 5, what's gonna be your answer here? Just one comma. Is it the first or the second? The first or the second? Um, sorry, one. Yeah, okay, exactly. Because it's the first one. We need to add the comma after 29. Yes, because you need to make like the dates correct. So yeah. All right, perfect. So that's it for series, dates, and places. I hope that you all understand. We'll move into like the next lesson. Okay, thanks. So we'll move on to the next lesson now. So the next one is commas with compound and complex sentences. Okay, so we have compound with compound and complex sentence. So note the compound sentence. Use a comma before the coordinating conjunction that joins the two independent clauses. Okay, in a compound sentence, you have to use a comma before the coordinating conjunction. We always have a coordinating conjunction which is and coordinating conjunctions. Before the coordinating conjunctions, you need to use a comma. So example of the coordinating conjunction or but and so. So we have them here four. So before you see this four coordinating conjunction, you need to add a comma. Just for example, we saw a flash of lightning. Yes, we have a comma, and then this is a coordinating conjunction. And later, we heard the rumble of thunder. So we have two independent clauses. Both of these are we saw a flash of lightning. Seconds later, we heard the rumble of thunder. Is those two are like the independent clauses, and then this is the coordinate function. You have a comma before then. So that's what it says in compound sentence. Use a comma before the coordinating conjunction that joins the two independent clause. So that's it for the first one. Moving on to the second. In a complex sentence, if a dependent clause comes before an independent clause, use the comma after the dependent clause. So for the complex sentence, you need to check. We know that dependent clauses are clauses that not stand on their own. They need support. Independent can stand and make a complete sentence. So now when you see a clause, an independent clause. So once the dependent clause comes before an independent clause, use a comma after the dependent clause. So the dependent clause, of course, is the one that cannot stand on its own. So one sentence that does not make sense on its own, that needs support, you put a comma, which is the dependent clause. So now, a dependent clause is one that starts with a subordinating conjunction. So now, dependencies always starts with subordinating conjunctions. Okay, these are the the subordinating conjunctions. We have after, although, as, because. occurs before if, since, till, unless, when, or while. So you always see a subordinating conjunction. So once you see a subordinating conjunction, starting it, you know that that's a dependent clause, and then you're gonna put a comma after that. So we have some evidence. If here is in conjunction, and it just tells us that this part here is a dependent clause. If she ever gets the chance. If you say she ever gets the chance, that sentence cannot stand on its own. It doesn't make sense. That's why we have if she ever gets the chance. Terry would love to visit the Egyptians pyramids. Dependent clause, a comma, independent clause, the last part. Because if you read this one can stand on its own, of course. Terry would love to visit the Egyptian pyramids. It can stand on its own. So that's it for the compound sentence and the complex sentences. Okay, so we'll just go through this. But give me a moment, please. Okay, so moving on, we will just go through some examples, and then after that, we will go through the test and answer some of the questions, and you can make it interactive. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so the first one says that since Laurie Marker, founder of the Cheetah Conservation Fund, moved to Namibia in 1977, he has studied cheetahs and sought to protect them. So we need to correct the text by inserting one comma. So now you're gonna look at this one and you figure it out. What is missing in this sentence? Okay. Now that sentence is a complex sentence in which a dependent clause comes before an independent clause. You can test the first clause starts with a subordinating conjunction since. So because of the since here, you know that it's a complex sentence and a dependent clause is starting first. Okay. So you're gonna put a comma after the dependent clause, just like we've said here. Once it's a complex sentence and then you see that the dependent clause is starting, you have some examples here of the subordinating conjunction because it usually starts with like the subordinating conjunction. When you see them, that's it. A comma after the dependent clause. Okay? So yeah, we put a comma after the dependent clause. Okay? So that's it here. Now the next one here says that complete the text by inserting one comma also. Author has written several books after food allergies, so it's safe to say she's an expert on the subject. So now what is this one? Is this a complex sentence or a compound sentence? So it's a compound sentence, but you have the coordinating conjunction there, which is so, and there's no comma. Actually, this one, there's no comma here because you're supposed to have a comma before so. So is a coordinating conjunction, and once you're having like a compound sentence, sorry, you need to put a comma before the coordinating conjunction. So this is an independent clause. The other one here is also independent. It has so you put a comma before so. So that's make the sentence correct here. All right, so move on to the test now. So now you can send in your answers. So you insert one comma here. Because Sir George Everest was the first to record its location and height, Mount Everest was named for him in 1865. So what do you think? Is it this one or this one? What's the right? Is this one first you have to check, is it a complex sentence or compound sentence? So after that you can figure out your answer. So is this compound or complex? What do you think is your answer here? Oh, we have one. So we'll pick one as the answer. Mm-hmm. Okay, Joy and Evangelist says one. Okay, so one. All right, because you can see here, because we know that because is a subordinating conjunction. So definitely this sentence is what, a complex sentence. So we pick because. Okay, perfect. Now next one. So what's gonna be your answer here? Unless we play miniature golf, I will probably stay home to catch up on miscellaneous chores. So, which is the right answer here? Is it the first or the second? Yeah, the first one. Because we have unless, and unless is a subordinating conjunction. Yes, the first one is correct. So, you need to have a comma after the dependent clause. So, the first comma after golf. We can meet at the entrance to the stadium, or we can just look for each other in the bleachers. So, what is gonna be the right answer here? Is this compound sentence or complex? So, we need to figure, is it the first or the second? So, is it the first one or the second one? What's gonna be our answer here? So, if you look carefully, you can see that this one, yes, this is sentence. So a compound sentence, of course, is gonna have what, a comma before the coordinating conjunction. So this is gonna be the answer. Okay, so I hope that you guys understand this one, this lesson that has to do with commas, with compound complex sentences. Okay, so yeah, we will move on to the next lesson. So the next lesson is commas with addresses, introductory words, interjections, and interrupters. Okay? So take note, we have the direct addresses, introductory words, interjections, and interrupters. Okay? So first of all, we have use commas to separate the name of a person being spoken to from the rest of the sentence. So if you have a name of a person in a sentence, you need to use a comma to separate the name of a being spoken to from the rest of the sentence. Okay? So thank you, Bella. We have a comma before Bella. Thank you, Bella, for your help. So immediately you have a name in a sentence. You need to use a comma to separate it. Okay? Once you see the name of a person, it could be Joy, it could be Evangeline, all you need to do is use a comma to separate the names. Now, use a comma after words like yes, no, well, and many others when they are followed by a complete sentence. So, for example, you want to say, yes, I understand. After yes, you put a comma. Yes, that sounds great. No, thank you. After no, you put a comma before the thank you. Well, I don't think I can make it. So after well, you put a comma. So there are a lot of words like this that you are gonna put a comma after. Many other you put a comma after them. Okay? It's just like when you want to use some words and then you have to put a comma before them before you use other complete sentence there. So you have to put a comma after yes or well and some other words. Now use a comma after a mild interjection. Mild interjection. Or what a stunning set. Because of the oral here, it's just mild, not so much, not really exaggerated, just a little. So you put a comma after that. Okay? Oh, what a stunning sunset. You put a comma. So when you're writing, maybe eventually you have to write like essays for school. Once you want to use words like or, you put a comma after the mild interjection just to show that okay, like you are separating it from the other sentence to show like feelings, how you feel at that point. Use commas around an interrupter, which is a word, phrase, or clause that adds additional non-essential information to the sentence. So now you're gonna use commas for interrupters, and interrupt words, phrases, or clauses that adds it could add good information or even unnecessary information that is not important, but it adds it up to the sentence. You use a comma to separate them. You of course may have a different opinion. So you of course. So when you're using of course may have a different opinion. So you put a comma. You can also use between. Maybe when using between, you put a comma because they are interrupters. Maybe interrupters. Okay? So let's have a look at some of the examples. So Shelby choosing to be the group's delegate at a convention in Gainesville, Florida. So to insert one comma. So where's it gonna be? After the name. So remember that whenever you have a name, you put a comma. So after each name, you're supposed to have a comma. So do not forget that. So next one, your interview selected to appear is selected to appear on tonight's evening news, Mrs. Holland. So where are you gonna put a comma? So you use a comma before Mrs. Holland, which is the name of a person. So remember that once you're having the name of a person, you need to put a comma. And then your enthusiasm for organic gardening is contagious, Mr. Kim. So your enthusiasm for organic gardening is contagious. So what are you gonna have a comma before the name, Mr. Kim? Because you need to put a comma for names. Okay, so let's try the test. You can send in your answers. Insert one comma. So what's gonna be your answer here? No, the Empire State Building was wasn't completed until 1931, just after the Chrysler Building. So just after the Tesla building, it was completed. So is it gonna be this one or this one? Which of the above? First or second one? So is your answer gonna be the first or the second? So did you? So we have first one. Yes, because of the no. So remember you use comma after no, yes, and all that. All right. So laughter is, as they say, the best medicine. So where are you gonna put the comma? Is it the first or the second one? Laughter is, as they say, the best medicine. The first or the second? This or this? Which one? So, as they say, is an interrupter. So you're gonna put it in the first one, yes, because as they say, it's just an interrupter. It's interrupting the sentence, so it's gonna be as they say. All right, yeah. No, Benjamin Franklin was never president of the United States. So we have this one. So it's gonna be this first one because we have a comma after no. Okay, so that's basically it for the direct address, introductory words, interjections, and for this one is gonna be George Tyler because put a comma before the name. Yes, exactly. So we will move on to the next lesson. Let's see what it's all about. So now the last one here is the review. So the review you have to on your own because it's just like a review of everything you've done from the first, the second, the third, and the fourth. So we will just look at the first one before we end, and then you try to complete the review on your own. Okay. So now we have coordinate adjective that describes same noun equally. They should be separated with commas. So coordinate adjective, adjective that describe the same noun equally, they should be separated with commas. Answer these two questions to check for coordinate adjective. Does the text still sound okay when the adjective order is changed? Does the text still sound okay when "and" is inside? If the answer to both questions is yes, then the adjective are coordinate and should be separated with commas. So you need to take note this for the coordinate adjective. They are adjective that describe the same noun equally. They should be separated with comma. Now you ask yourself, does this sound okay when the adjective order is changed? If it's changed, does it sound okay? If it's yes, okay, you put a comma. Does the text still sound okay when "an" is inserted? So once you insert "an," does it make sense? If it makes sense, then yes, you add a comma. So as we strolled along the aged cobblestone walkway that meandered through the rose garden, we gazed at arrays of fragments, colorful. So now you have to look for the adjectives that are next to each other, then test whether they are coordinate adjective. So we have aged are not coordinate adjective, so they should not be separated with comma. So both these two here are not coordinate adjective. You can tell because the text does not sound right at all when the adjective order is changed. So when you put comma, does it make sense? hmm Or maybe when you change the sentence, does it make sense? When you change the adjective, does it make sense? hmm So now, so fragments and colors are coordinate adjectives, so they should be separated with a comma. So you can say yes, fragment, colorful, yes. So that, and then the colorful, they are the coordinates adjective, and then they can be separated. You can tell because the text still sounds okay when the adjective order is changed as when and exacted. So you can add a comma in between the fragrant and then the colorful. So the fragrance and then the colorful, yes. So for their vacation, and Brittany rented a small beach bungalow, but the unanticipated fast approaching hurricane forced them to evacuate and their vacation early. So you have to look for adjectives that are next to each other. We have small and beach are not coordinates because they should not be separated with a comma. And then you have unanticipated and fast approaching are coordinates because you can separate them, you can add a comma in between them, so they are coordinative. So in general, you should know that coordinate adjective just describe the same now equally is separated with a comma. So you have to look at two of the sentence. Does it make sense if we separate them and add a comma? If it doesn't make sense, then yeah, you know that there's something wrong. It is not it. Okay. So this one was in the tutorials. So look at this one. When you read this one, what do you think is gonna be your answer? So, volcanic ash, which has an abrasive sandy texture, can include various identifiable particles, crystals, minerals, bits of pumice, shards of volcano glass, and miscellaneous rock fragments. So, what's gonna be the right one here? This or this one? So, you have to pick like um two adjectives that are beside each other and then you choose the right one. That's what you need to do. So what's gonna be the answer? So is it gonna be the first one or the second one? So we pick the first one because abrasive sandy texture can be separated. You can put a comma in between the adjective there and then it's gonna okay. So Vincent van Gogh was a struggling undiagnosed artist who received recognition and fame only after his death. In fact, only one painting by his notable Dutch painter sold during his lifetime. So we have recognition and fame. Then we have struggling and undiscovered. So struggling undiscovered are coordinate adjective because they can be separated, but recognition and feel they cannot be separated. So it's going to be this one. Okay. So I do hope that you all understand the commas. You can review the comma review is just the same thing that we've done from beginning till the fourth. I hope that you understand. Do you have any questions? If you have any questions, you can send on the chat before we end. But if you have, you can just type no. And then you can try to finish the lesson, watch it all over again if you also have any questions. So, any questions? No? Or yes? Do we have any question? So I'm guessing no. So we're gonna end now. Bye everyone. Have a good night. See you next time.